Imagine your business not just surviving, but thriving. Your wealth locked in, your opportunities exploding, and your family's future built on a legacy that never fades. I'm Leah Garcia, a financial strategist and insurance professional. I help entrepreneurs and high-growth enterprises protect, distribute, and transfer their wealth through my proven system, the Wall of Wealth. I unite your experts into one cohesive strategy, because the most expensive line on your balance sheet isn't debt or taxes, it's conflicting advice. Ready to align every dollar with your mission and turn today's success into tomorrow's divine promise. Wealth today, dynasty tomorrow.
Happy Wealthy Wednesday, champions. Come on in, come on in. Today's going to be so much fun. It's going to be very, very engaging. I would say grab something nice to drink. Grab your fuzzy bunny slippers, grab a notepad. You're going to want to take some notes and you're going to want to ask some questions. I promise you, today's going to be very much about engagement. So put in the chat, let me know where you are tuning in from. We are live on Facebook, we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube. And let me know what part of the woods that you're coming in from. I'm actually here in beautiful downtown Monterey from my rebranded and new signage office, which I absolutely am loving this. And same location, new brand, new sign. I love it. I love it. Today's topic is don't judge a book by its cover. Do you guys love that? Is that so great? I love those double entendres, right? Those things that have two meanings. Well, today's topic is going to be a lot of fun. It is going to be engaging. I love books. I don't know how many of you love books. I know we've got these Kindles. I don't really see myself curling up with a Kindle. I know a lot of people like that. I do love audiobooks, but I'm going to say at the core, I love to have a physical books. I've got books all in my office here. I have books around me everywhere I go in my house. I have tons of books in storage. I mean, boxes and boxes of books. I love the physical book. There's something that you just doesn't translate the same way when you listen to it on audio. I listen to books on audio, and then if I really like them, I buy the physical, right? So I don't want to take a bunch of time with something that may not be worth my time, but when it's worth the investment, there's something different that translates when you read a book. Just like there's something different that translates when you type as opposed to when you write. There's connections that happen in here. Our synapses, our brain function grows, and I'm sure Queen Leslie Flowers could definitely talk more about that. But today's guest speaker, I got to tell you, well, let me read her bio first, okay? She's an incredible person. Coach Kimberly Coach K. Wells is an international business strategist, community builder, writer, and the founder of Code Red Management, Code Red Capital, the ultimate butterfly effect, with a background spanning corporate sales, financial services, automotive leadership, and international business. She specializes in seeing people's potential and creating strategies, experiences, and economic opportunities that help good people grow together. Now transitioning from being the face of every project into her role as the founder and creative director, Kimberly is focused on nurturing talent, sharing meaningful stories, and building platforms where others can be seen, heard, supported. Her work is rooted in community, financial literacy, personal transformation, and the belief that one person making one good decision can create ripple effects that changes lives. I absolutely love that. I epitomize that. I truly do believe that. One of my favorite quotes is, "You cannot measure the heart of a man just by looking at him." Sorry, I dropped my phone. And I believe that one person can absolutely make a difference. Now, I met her back in the day when we had LinkedIn audio rooms, and she would just build this incredible community on the audio. And really, I don't know that she knows this, but she was really one of the first people that really helped me to start finding my voice here on social media. I have so much love and adoration for her. I call her my queen. However, she's many decades younger than me, but that's okay. We don't worry about that. Please give it up for my incredible guest speaker, the one, the only, Kimberly Wells. We affectionately know her as Coach K. Welcome to Wealthy Wednesday, my love. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if anybody doesn't, know you, what kind of would you add to what I shared about you? Because you have so many facets and so many golden nuggets to share. So what would you share in addition to that?
I would like to share that, especially here on LinkedIn in the professional world, and like coming out as the CEO of a company that I've always been known to be an employee of. Um, I really am not about titles as much as I'm about people. That getting to know the heart of a person and who people really are, honestly means a lot to me, more than it should some days in the world of business. But I truly believe that being in connection with good people, it breeds better business in the long run. And so I look to connect with really good folks that have really good intentions and that are looking to make an impact on the world.
Totally on point. Not all money is good money. I just had a conversation with an entrepreneur, and she was having some difficulties with one of her clients, and she was asking for some guidance. And this particular person is incredible. She's powerful. She's great at what she does. But this particular client wasn't really valuing her. And sometimes, unfortunately, I don't know why this is, but sometimes, unfortunately, when we're going to that next level, not everybody is there singing our praises and cheering us on. And so I told her, you know what? You are growing, you're expanding. Look at how far you've come. You are brilliant and you're shining in your brilliance. Not all money is good money. So I totally agree with you. It is about attracting those good people, those high quality people. Listen, there's most skills we can learn. Almost anything we can learn. We can learn how to be a good speaker. We can learn how to be a good writer. Maybe some of that natural talent isn't always there, but I think hard work beats talent, because most of the time talent doesn't work hard. Okay, that's just kind of the way it is. I want to welcome a few people who've joined us. Miss Yuma, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. I definitely want to see you stepping into your greatness, Miss Yuma. I'm watching you. I saw you on Power Thinking. That was so great. Listen, this is not comfortable. This is something I had to learn how to do. I wasn't really comfortable with this, and that's why I love my queen here. So let's talk about books. What would you say about books? I shared with you a little bit about why I love books, what I think is powerful about them, but why is this don't judge a book by its cover? Why do we want to know about this? And I'm going to grab my phone, but I can hear you, okay? Because it's on the floor. I need my phone here.
So I am a book lover. We're in community of being book lovers as well. For me, I started my love of books when I was in elementary school. I would say I'm definitely a product of Reading Rainbow. And I believe that it is the first journey that we take as children before we take our first vacation. And for some kids, their first getaway or permanent getaways are sometimes in a book. And so I believe that stories are possible, that they nurture the imagination for both children and adults. I also think that books is how we really, in the long term, preserve our legacy, because they can last long after we can. And so, with me being new to the author community, I'm a very big believer in leaving something behind, so that if my kids or the grandkids that I don't have yet need advice, it's something that's there to guide them along the way. And so I'm a huge believer in books. I've been a fan, and so now stepping onto the author side, I look forward to not just sharing my creations with my family and the world around me, but I look forward to sharing my community's creations as well.
Absolutely. And to your point, I was that little kid growing up in the ghetto, growing up in poverty. We didn't take vacations. I didn't take a vacation until I became an adult, and then I paid for my own vacation, right? So books really were for me a getaway. and I would use my imagination. I'd wonder, how do these people go to these different places and all these different, civilizations? I loved ancient civilizations. So books for me were very much a way for me to escape. And that really inspired me to enjoy reading. And it never occurred to me that I was developing my mind. It never occurred to me that I was developing my reading skills. It really was more of like that, taking that time to get away from what was going on in my reality, right? So I was creating a different reality. So I love that you talk about that reading rainbow. I'm a reading rainbow, but I love the reading rainbow. So what would you say? Sometimes I know that people gravitate more now towards electronic type of books, or they say, you know what, books are just too expensive. What would you say to somebody like that? Are they worth the investment?
I would ask the person if they're worth the investment, depending on the book. To be honest, that's honestly where the title of the show came from. And for me, it was about leaning into the no, because one of the reasons it took me a while to decide if I to write something publicly, because I was I'll say the fear of rejection if people will buy it. And then I actually went in on the higher end because I intentionally created a shorter book with higher value for the sake of transformation, not for someone to say I have a 150-page book that I did not read. I know that because of attention span, as well as the lack of some adult literacy, people just do not read as much as they used to, and the short reels don't necessarily help. And so I intentionally created an ebook that had exercises for quick transformation. So I priced it a little bit higher just to add value to it. And then it gave me opportunity to begin to lean into the no so that I can get over my fear of being afraid to come back out as a sales girly. Because the truth is, when there are things of value to share, that means that there's a solution that I have. I look forward to solving people's problems with a higher value solution because it works, not because it costs more. But when the value is there, there's a livelihood attached to it. And so it's essential that people understand the full scope of what's going on when transactions are being made, even when it comes to reading, because when you do buy books, you're not just helping yourself. You are worth the investment. Read the back of the book. Don't just go off the cover. Actually see, is this something that could possibly help me, potentially help me? And then I also wanted to add, knowing where you're going is a big deal, because if it's one thing that if someone's trying to sell you something that you don't need, that's a sale. But when you know you have an internal problem that you would like to solve, look to see if this book could add to the solution. Because the thing about me is I was never really a fantasy reader. I've I've probably been business forward since I was 6 years old. And so I've been reading self-help books, excuse me, self-help books for a very long time, because I've always been a seeker of the truth, and that's intentionally what I look to share, whether it's an adult book or a children's book. I like to read books to people that actually help them grow, either personally or financially, or um, or in career business.
Yeah, that's powerful. That is so powerful. And a lot of people do the shelf help, right? They get the book, they put it on the shelf, but they never really do anything with it. We got to take the books off the shelf. We got to start reading them. Remember, there's this thing called a library where you don't even have to buy the book. You can go and borrow the book. I would ask you, and I see a couple people here in the audience, for me, how do you decide to buy a book? So for me, one thing I do is book recommendations. A lot of my mentors are constantly giving us book recommendations. And so that's one place that I find books. Also, I listen to audiobooks. If I hear about a book and I'm not sure, I'll listen to the audio. And if that's great, I'll enjoy it. But if it really inspires me, intrigues me, I'll take it to the next level and then purchase the book. For me, I don't really look too much at the cover. If it's an author, a biography, a recommendation, I kind of already know what I'm looking for. But I would ask the audience, like, how do you decide whether to buy a book? Do you look at the cover? Is the cover important? And I would ask you, Coach Kate, how do you decide to buy books? Do you buy everything? Do you shop around? Like, you kick the tires? Let us know what you decide, how you decide to buy a book, if it's worth that investment.
I have had a book buying addiction for many, 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 many years. I used to love to go to the library sales growing up before I was an adult, and I generally am a summary reader. So, like now as an adult, sometimes I have my niches that I go down. So, right now, the last 2 years or so, I've been on relationship building and quantum physics. I'm totally a science kid. I've talked about that on multiple occasions, and so quantum physics and neuroscience are too easy. Like if I like, there are certain authors, Carl Jung, Miguel. I want to say Miguel Nunez. There are certain philosophy writers that I don't care what they write, I'll read it. But I judge a book by its title. I look at the subtitle. I look at the summary. I do recommendations sometimes, but I'm very funny about recommendations only because I'm so intentional about staying in alignment. And I know it's very easy for me to get taken off guard. And so there are times where, depending on what the book is about, I'll just tell people that sounds really great. And whenever I get downtime, I may read it later. I'll add it to my list. Or, like for me, I know I'm not into fantasy at all, almost, especially not with books. I like those little drama clip movies that creators are starting to put out there that are like intense short movie style. But for the most part, I am a self help girly.
I'm with you on that one. I'm not really a fantasy, although one of my favorite books of all time, the series of Chronicles of Narnia, and also you got to talk about, um, oh my gosh, I just lost it here for a second. It'll come back to me. The Hobbit. There you go. The Hobbit. Those are two. Now, those are real fantasy. But other than that, I don't really get into the fantasy. I'm about the reality. Teach me the neuroscience. I want to know how to get better. What can I learn from you? Although I know there's things that we can learn from those types of books also. It just doesn't happen to be my jam. And we got a few people who joined us. I want to welcome Miss Christy D. Williams. She's our customer service professional. She is our LinkedIn cheerleader. She's posting some incredible stuff. I love your content, Miss Christy. I'm really watching her grow and evolve. And I just think that we need to take some time to rah each other, pour love into each other. And you pour so much love into us, Miss Christy. We definitely want to pour that right back into you. And I have my good friend Coral from across the pond, the one and only Miss Coral. Now, I don't even know. It's Coral Conneberry, by the way. That's how you pronounce her last name. She trained me on it, so I know that's her last name. I just don't even know. Miss Coral's coming on my show because I watch the way that she absolutely shows up. She is constantly highlighting other people. She's putting comments. She's interacting, engaging. And I love that. Listen, we can all ourselves, but it takes a special person that's confident and willing to be humble to other people. And she does it all the time. I watch her in many spaces and places. I love that. So let's kind of circle back to this judgment of a book. Often we judge people, businesses, opportunities by what we see on the surface. And so often we don't look for that gold. We don't take a second look. I say we're more than we are in the bubble. People might look at maybe they don't look at your book. You don't have a book, but maybe they look at your LinkedIn profile and they say, you know what? I don't like the way she looks. That headline doesn't really attract me. And they kind of just gloss right over it. So what would you share about those kinds of things?
So like I said, for me, I'm new to the book space as an author. But the other thing that I absolutely love about prototypes and testing is on the back end is marketing, is the ability to try again. And so one thing that I'm looking to do with the particular ebook, because I do know that covers, not everybody, well, no, I think I know that covers play a role. And so I'm looking forward to changing the cover two more times, to be honest. I thought about doing it before this show to add it to the comments, but I know I understand that different things attract different people. Also, making a cover unisex intentionally, because if a cover is too girly, there are some men that are like not gonna touch it just off the assumption that it's a women's book when it's really a mental book. And so I am a fan of trial and error. I wasn't a fan of it the last 2 years. Just sometimes we go over that hump of having to get back on the horse. But then once you really go over your track record of remembering who you are, for me, I remember like I actually like the climb. I enjoyed the part of testing out and asking people for feedback, which was a really big deal for me the first time around. I did an ebook, and then I said, okay, I realized that some people purchased the book and supported me, which I absolutely love and appreciate, because the idea of writing the book was so that as I start over and go into my new chapter of life, it allowed me the opportunity to create income for myself while being abroad. And so it was a twofold creation. But I'm very sincere about helping people and meeting them where they are. And so when I realized people purchased the ebook, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go back next and do an audio for it, so that if they don't have the time and an opportunity to read, then I'll create the audio and read it to them. And for those that like a printable book, as I continue to scale, then we'll add print to it as well as other languages. But there are so many ways that I'm excited about growing in this space, as well as bringing in other readers into the audio space. It promotes adult and children literacy. We'll be reading adult and children books, and some children books that actually help to curate and nurture the inner child of the adults, which is really awesome, because we find out more and more each day what our parents didn't know, they couldn't pass down. And so sometimes when educating the child, or creating like for your Magic Maverick as the example, a children's literacy book, there are some adults that weren't taught that will be blessed by the reading, or by the reading of, or the reading and of this book.
Mic drop, absolutely. So you heard it here. Miss Coach K herself is going to be reading Magic Maverick and the Treasure Map, which is a beautiful parable that I created with my precious grandson. He's now 7. He was 6 years old at the time. It's a story that we kind of evolved over time. And I love that. I mean, I'm humbled and honored that you're doing this. And also at the same time, I believe in what you're saying is that people hearing the audio, watching the engagement. I love reading Rainbow. Maybe some of you are too young to know this, but we had this guy, his name was Lamar Burton, I think it was. I might be missing his name, but he would read books and he had just this incredible voice. He'd draw you in. He'd, turn the pages, and it was something that it was almost like watching somebody eat a delicious decadent dessert. You wanted that book. Like I would beg my parents for the books that he read. I usually didn't get them, but anyway, that's another story. But it was like drawing you in and really instilling that love of reading. So I'm very excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. Maverick's going to be super excited too. So you say, I heard this quote, you said, literacy gives people access to ideas that change their lives. I would ask you, Miss Coach K, how has literacy changed your life?
I didn't realize until, I'm gonna honestly say, this month, how much different I think from different family members and those around me because I made a conscious choice to hang out in the library at a younger age. And I really took it for granted, like because it wasn't something that someone made me do, and so I never really looked at it as a different or a special thing. But honestly, for those that read, you really actually do gain an advantage over your peers, as well as people in your natural community that only read when they have to. That giving yourself the additional knowledge essentially what it does is it doesn't just it's not just about the literacy, but it's also about the actual brain development that you talked about at the beginning when we talk about how writing develops different things in your brain. When you take the power into your hands, there's a lot of options that you give yourself that society might not actually give you. That's what I want to say about it. That reading that literacy piece, it allows you to take your power back.
Boom, boom, boom. Underline, exclamation point, put a gold star. That is so on point and so succinct. And I've been seeing this thing on social media. It's been kind of going around that they say Gen Z can't read. And then they do little examples of teachers talking about kids who don't read, and people going around and doing interviews and giving them little passages to read and they can't read. And I just think, wow, how is this really happening? Now I'm going to assume, because I know kids in that generation, I'm going to assume it's not everyone. I'm going to assume it's just the exception, because we can't lose our reading. If we lose our reading, we're absolutely giving away our power. Now, what would you say what really determines the value of a book? Is it, it has to be printed, they need it audio, they got to have a flashy cover? What do you think is that value, that just any book in general? Are there some criteria they need to have in order to be a valuable book?
Honestly, I go with the inside more than anything. Like from a marketing perspective, I feel like you have to know who you're talking to, and so that's like for me. That's why I said I plan to test trial different book covers because on the essential grab, the cover itself is like a 3 second hook. You have a very short time to gain someone's attention if they don't already know you. Like unless they've heard something before. I think the last book that I went looking for was maybe House of Gucci because I am a sucker for based on a true story and if I want more details. And so I watch House of Gucci on the airplane and I'm like, I really wanted to see what had the details of what happened to the crumble of that dynasty because it was a brand so well built that got kind of tore down by one person. And so um for me, I'm going to say the summary and the inside, but I also feel like there's no one way to do it because we all learn differently. Some people need the audiobook. Some people need to see the print or even pictures. And then some people really like their Kindles. I'm with you on like, I do have a couple of digital prints on Kindle for the sake of supporting different authors and to transport without having to take so many books. But for the most part, I believe there's no right or wrong way to do anything creative. I think that whichever way allows your creativity to shine in a way that conveys your message for you is the right way. I don't think there's a wrong way to create.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Really, it is about being creative. And as you were speaking, what I realized is I, I will gravitate towards a book based on learning something about the author. And that's why I really enjoy Nick Angai Galindo, because she highlights her authors and learning a little bit about them. If I hear their story, it's like, okay, I got to get that book. And that inspires me, learning something about them, something that feels relatable, or maybe just something that inspires you. So I really enjoy that. And I appreciate that you said that, because it really is more than just looking at that picture. So tell me about, like, when we look at books, how should somebody think about it as far as like pricing, marketing? What are some criteria they should be looking for when they want to become a published author? What would you say?
Wait, ask me the question one more time. I heard you, but I'm still. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, if somebody is an aspiring author, what should they be thinking about as far as the value of the work? So in other words, it may take them years and years to come up with this book. How do they price it? How do they market it? Or maybe it's something they come up really, really quickly. What should they be thinking about when it comes to monetizing that book, or whether to monetize their book? Because Magic Maverick is free, right? It's not even a book that I'm selling.
I think that people should think about what it means to them, because the thing about it is, for example, I think that Magic Maverick is like a $14, $15 book in my opinion, because of the value of what it's teaching, but because of where you are in life and because of the purpose of the book, I think that what you're doing is perfect, because it's a lead in for your clients, but you're allowing us to also read the book to people and allow them to pick their own price. So if they want it to be audio read to them, they can, and they could name the price on it. But also for people that don't have time to read to their kids, as well as for people that just like to hear the voice of someone, because I've learned in the last 8 months of being in isolation, sometimes just hearing another voice in the background could be actually soothing and helpful, um, to those that don't always have human connection around them in real time. And so that was one thing. But when it comes to creating, and because I got totally off topic, I started going one way, and my ADHD completely kicked all the way in, and I feel like I missed the question a little bit.
No, you're perfect. You're bringing a lot of value here. That is really important what you're sharing. And really, to your point of, pick your price. So right now, Magic Maverick is free. And by the way, this show is not about Magic Maverick. It's about the concept, right? When you are presenting value, like there's a lot of lessons in Magic Maverick. Okay. There really are. And that was really the story we created. For me, it was something that was going to capture that time and place of the storytelling that I created with my precious grandson. And it's a way for people to maybe be inspired that they have that story. Everybody talks about it, but how many of them really do capture that and take that next step and put it in, whether you sell it or not? Maybe you bind it and it's just for you, right? It's your private little history, your legacy that you're building for your family. So for a long time, you've been the face of the CEO of your business. And so you're the face of everything as a founder, and now you're learning to focus on your vision. So how are you transitioning from being the face and now into your new butterfly effect that you're taking on, your new persona?
Okay, so first, let me go back. The question that I missed was how to determine the value of a book, and I want to go back to that, and it's to think about your why, because I'm on the opposite end, and so um, people create books for different reasons, and knowing your why and being able to sell to your why, to close to your why, is a very important thing, and so that your why determines your value, because that's what gives value to it. And so for you, your why is a lot different from the typical author. Most people create books as an additional income, like in the reality of it, except for when you're into your golden years and you did it and you planned it right. You can actually write a free book and and say, "Hey, I want to give away," just like the other book that we're going to be reading from the and from the community, which is the Jack and Walter series from Paulette Harlem. With her, she's another author that is in the position where she donates a mass majority of her book sales to send more books to children that are underprivileged. And so she does a ton of book giveaways, but she charges for her books so that she's able to send more printable copies as a giveaway. Me, on the other hand, I'm not retired yet, and so I don't just sell my book. I sell it about $10 over what the typical ebook goes for, and 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 I did
Hold
it.
on now. I'm not retired. Okay. Don't get it twisted. I'm still in the grind. I'm still working, but I get what you mean.
But
I ain't that old. Okay.
well, no, not it's not a man. It's not about age as much as it's about planning. And as a financial planner, you've planned your life in a way that allows you to mimic things of a retirement. So it's more of a homage than it is as a anything to age. I feel like the best advice I ever received was from someone in the financial services in my early 20s, where he said, "People don't plan to fail, they fail to plan." I'm a strong believer in that. And so when you're able to give back at that magnitude, like I always tell you, I think that your goals, um, when it comes to planning out, like, and having time managed, and making sure you're working out and balance and still squeezing a little glass of wine in, like I've told you since you started this particular show, like, okay, you're my aspiration. Like when I start doing the video thing, I'm like, okay, Leah, I have to let me structure this because I like the way you structure. I like the way you plan. And I like having someone that structures beyond what I do, but what I'm used to on my day to day, because I'm used to structuring my life around my children. And so you're at a place in life that I am approaching. I don't have grandkids yet. And so I look forward to it. I have my goddaughter. And so when I see different things that people around me are slaying, I'm like, listen, there's no digs ever. That's a goal. Like, I want to be able to say, you know what, I went from selling this book at $30 a book to giving it away for free because of how I plan. That's what dynasty building looks like. For me, it's an avenue for me to be able to hire more people. Like, I'm not going to drop the price. In fact, I almost raised it when people told me it was too high, because I kind of get off on proving the value on, I'm not just sharing my story, I'm only sharing pieces of my story that will help transform you. Because at the end of the day, this is something that I've gotten through already, and I see other people struggling with it. And so instead of you spending hundreds of dollars on therapy the way I did, how about I fast track you and give you some key points along with a few exercises that shows you how to mirror it in your life, so that you don't have to spend money that I spent. I already did the notes and the highlights for you. And then I paired it with a 12-step guide, so that if you need additional help, that one is another name your own price tool, because I'm very serious about people getting the help they need if they are not in the right environment and they can't just get what they need, and the help that they truly need is not for free. It's like, well, here, take the time to make an investment in yourself so that you can have what you need to get to the next step.
And I appreciate the flowers. You've always told me that. And I never really think about it. I just kind of do it. And this is what I mean. When I started this show, Wealthy Wednesday, I had no idea who were going to be my guest. I really was figuring it out how out as I was going. I'm an action person. I think that sometimes people take too much time to plan about it and research it. I'm like, let's just do it. Either it's going to work or it's not. Okay. Either do or do not. That's what Yoda said. There is no try. So I believe in just trying to figure it out along the way. But I understand that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I'm very excited and proud of myself because I've started this, wasn't sure who my guests were going to be. And I've had a show every single Wednesday since I started this. I did take off my birthday last year, but other than that, and I see a lot of people who start shows and then they stop, they take a break, they go on vacation. Something happens, cattywampus. Listen, I show up here. Sometimes I had times where my guest didn't show up. I still showed up. I had times when I had to find a guest at the last minute, right? So I say that champions always find a way. Tell us more about your new role, the queen, the being queen, and the community, and that godmother role. Because you're so young to be calling yourself a godmother, but we mean it from the perspective of the wisdom, because she is my queen, if you don't know that. So share with us a bit about that.
So the godmother role for the community is something that was created because that's another thing that age doesn't play a role in godmothering. So I'm from a Christian background. I I'm definitely more spiritual these days, but coming from a Christian background, a godparent is somebody that if something happens to your parents, or if your parents just simply don't have the ability or didn't have the ability to teach you certain things, that somebody to me that God, specifically a woman that God put in your life to guide you as a mother role that's not your biological mother, because sometimes our mothers don't have the information that our souls seek. But I believe that when you're in alignment and in the right community, God would place the voice of a mother through someone else to give you whatever information it is you need. And so it's not a permanent seat for one person. It's a seat that will be rotating because the community is an economic system that give each person a voice and an opportunity to shine. But the godmother role is, if the first one, the being queen, is a, how can I put this? It is, this is a role that I, when I first had to step outside my body, when I didn't have anybody, because I don't personally have a godmother, but I am a godmother. So as I said, you have a grandson, and for me, God sent me a goddaughter. So when most people during COVID were spending time with their family, I did have all three of my boys, but I met a young lady in a shelter that I was volunteering at, and she wasn't in a position to keep her daughter because she was an essential worker and had no idea what else to do. And so I essentially inherited her daughter for 6 years, as her godmother. And so that's not something that comes with age. That's something that when I told her mom that if something happened, she wouldn't have to worry about her baby, that's something that I stepped up and took the role to do. And a lot of people say, oh my gosh, she's so lucky to have you. And it's interesting because it's a bit triggering for me, because to me she's not lucky, she's a kid. It's a blessing for me to be chose to be able to be an impact in her life. And that's what godmothers do. There's someone that God said, you know what, I see that you've been going through this structure, that you've been going through this situation in your life that nobody knows about. So I'm going to place someone in your life that's going to feed you in a way that would allow you to help yourself, essentially. And so anybody with a pure heart has the ability to be someone's godmother, because not all women are fortunate enough to reproduce, but that doesn't mean that they can't impact somebody. And it doesn't mean that the person that they impact has to be a child. There may be a 65-year-old man that was never taught something, that was never taught financial literacy, and since the day they were born, they were told hard work, hard work, hard work. And so sometimes that adult male may just need someone to enter into this space and say, you know what, you're more than your hard work. You actually deserve that pat on the back. It's okay to give yourself grace. It's okay to celebrate yourself. And so this godmother role is to be, to for someone, for myself, for the sponsors, for other godmothers and grandmothers in the community to step up, not just for their people, but for people around them, and say, hey, I'm championing for you because I notice nobody's cheering for you, and I want you to know that I see you. A godmother is somebody that has the ability to see somebody beyond their present situation in a way that they may not see it.
Absolutely. If you're just joining or if you're on Team Replay, go back and rewind that. Team Live, go back and rewind that. That last few minutes was absolutely fire. And I'm so glad that was more elaborate because it gave me a chance to recompose myself. So when you talked about people being there for, children who maybe don't have someone, listen, we can all be there for each other. I was that little girl when I talk about growing up on food stamps and welfare, and sometimes I joke about it, but it was very much not what I wanted. Like I truly would ask my parents, why don't we have a nice house? Why can't we buy a shiny car? Okay, I didn't understand. Like, let's do what we need to do. I'm not sure what this all means. I'm like 4 years old, 5 years old, asking these questions of my parents. I'm sure they did not appreciate that. But I was so blessed that I would have people who would pour into me. I would have people who would see me. I'd come to school with clothes that were all misfit. Sometimes I missed so many days of school. I was number one in the most days of school missed. But my teacher would see me and they'd do something special. Oh my gosh. See, I can't even talk about this because it gets me choked up. But you are so on point. If you have children, bless your heart, take care of your beautiful babies. If you have grandchildren, pour into them. If you have a neighbor, if you're that teacher, or even if you're just in a store. I was in the store the other day and there were some kids who were out there playing. They're just having this great old time. And they kept asking their mom for quarters. And she was busy. She had quite a few kids with her. I'm not sure that they were all hers, but she didn't have the quarters. Quarters, sometimes you got to go to the bank. And so I asked for permission. I gave them a handful of quarters and you should have seen like their faces just lit up. And so what I'm saying is it doesn't take a lot. Maybe it's a few quarters, maybe it's some kind words, maybe it's just remembering their birthday or just looking into their beautiful little eyes and just pouring love into them. Oh my goodness, you are definitely taking me to a path. Woo! Okay, I'm going to recompose here. I'm going to reset. This is why I love you. I just believe that you have such an incredible way of phrasing things. Go ahead.
I want to jump back in too, and I want to specifically say to not forget about the inner child within adults because I set up this thing a few years ago where once the community structure is finalized, 20% is going to go back into different people that need help in the community. And as I was saying before, there's so many adults, including myself, that were missing things from childhood, that's missing certain aspects of love that come from childhood trauma of without having certain things. So for me, growing up, I didn't have a lack of materialistic things or financial suffering, honestly. I did grow up in I grew up in what would be considered a hood, but I wasn't a starving family from the hood at all. I actually came from a middle class family, and I learned to downplay what I had because of people around me, because I saw the lack, so much lack around me. I learned to minimize myself. And so I had to, as I went through, as I've been going through um, recovering from a surgery from an injury, divorce, moving. Like I've had so much different turmoil over the last couple of years that building community and being connected to the right people has played such a pivotal part that I don't want to forget about the adults that have inner children within them that also need the same healing as the new kids coming up. There we go. That's what I want to say. Because there are a lot of adults that are just as left behind as Gen Z. And in my opinion, if we fix children and their grandparents is the problem or their parents is the problem, then it's like we've essentially wasted our time, unfortunately. And so I don't believe when I say no kid left behind, I'm also talking about the inner child of adults because over the last 2 months, I've spoken to several adults that say they don't relate to cartoon characters. And I say, did you watch cartoons as a kid? And they was like, oh no, I've always been very serious. And so children, some adults that did weren't affording childhoods. Like for me, I became a mom early, so I didn't play a lot of games as a kid. But then you have some people that had to start working just as early as I became a mom, and they were also robbed of their childhood. So I'm a big fan of fun for adults, learning, making fun learning, making learning fun. There you go. Making learning fun for adults and not leaving the adults behind that didn't get a chance to explore or imagine either.
Absolutely. And if I ever take myself too serious, I just go and spend some time with my precious grandson. He's going to throw a pillow at me. He's going to do something. He's going to tickle me. I mean, he's going to find something. Like that's just what he's all about is he loves to laugh and he'll tell a joke. And if I don't laugh, he's like, Gim Gims, I told a joke. I said, okay, but I didn't think it was funny. He said, oh no, you're supposed to laugh. I said, well, how do I laugh if I don't think it's funny? He says, just do this. You know what I'm saying? So I love it. I got a lot of silliness going on with my precious little boy. I love that you talk about building communities because I truly believe Think and Grow Rich talks about mastermind alliance. I believe that we need to have more masterminds. Believe we need to build more communities. We find more treasures in ourselves. We find more treasures in each other. A rising tide raises all boats, but only if our boat's in the water. We got to get into community. We got to get into spaces and places with other people who stretch us and who strengthen us and who challenge us. So tell us about this incredible community because you're a master at building communities. Tell us about this amazing community that you're building.
I'm very excited about it. It's been in the making for some time. It's not new. It's actually started, I want to say about 2009. So the truth is, I have not been the face for my company. The Ultimate Butterfly Effect has operated as a DBA of my company for the past 12 years. And so when I first started, I was actually in esthetician school. This is my baby after my last son. I knew that my 17-year-old was going to be my last kid that I gave birth to. And so I said, okay, I need something new if because all of my boys are exactly 5 years apart. And so on that fourth year, I gave birth to this company that the idea behind it was to what if everybody just did one good thing to create a positive ripple effect in the community because I just kept seeing so many disgruntled and angry people. And so I was fortunate enough to move my children to a gifting community. And what I mean by gifting community, they grew up in one of those communities where if you're at Starbucks or Chick-fil-A, the car in front of you, at least once a week, somebody's doing a gifting line where they pay for your coffee at Starbucks for whatever the order is behind, and we just keep it going. And so I wanted to I wanted to take that into my actual world. And so I have a concept that almost everybody has $1 million in your phone. You just have to figure out where it's at and how to go get it. And so the ultimate butterfly effect is not broken down into three different communities. The entry level is at a community level that is for the everyday 9 to 5 person that's looking for resources, for people that are looking to elevate and don't know where to start, but they're like, I want to invest in myself, but I don't know about this. It allows people to be interactive online and offline. And so it's been a slow rollout because I want to make sure that I'm getting to know each person as they enter. I'm actually taking the time to purge all of my contacts. I'm looking to hire some sales help, and I've looked at a few companies for VAs that will be reaching out and prospecting my personal contacts in my phone, on my Facebook, through my Instagram and my LinkedIn to see who is who and what they do. There's three communities again. So it's community, transition level, and executive level. The executive chair is more of our high level investors, angel investors, people that are actually into venture capitalism. That's one of the routes that I'm looking to go, transitioning over to the founder role. because you can invest in stock and you can invest in companies all day long, but when you invest in people, you get a different type of return. And so I'm looking to get to know my people, because there are different ways that you can get someone to $1 million. It's not necessarily about giving someone $1 million cash. One of the questions that I wanted to ask for people that are watching live as well as on the replay: if I did give you $1 million, like, what would you do with it? What would it look like? How would you spend it beyond yourself? Because we know that people need food, shelter, and water. But if someone says, well, if I had $1 million, I could do this. Well, what if we put you in a community where it's like, okay, well, maybe we don't have that, but we have this. So if your plan requires land and someone has extra acres that they just inherited, you may get halfway to your mark where it's like, okay, now that we're in community with people that are in the same alignment and going in the same direction, what can we now then put all together to get us closer to here? And then we then we then we collaborate with productivity and good people to get to profit, and that's where you get your $1 million.
Absolutely. You're so on point. And how did you phrase this? Who is who and what they do? So here's the thing. It's really, we used to say it was 6 degrees of separation. These days, it might be 1 degree, it might be 3 degrees. But if you intentionally know what you would do with that $1 million beyond yourself, we're not talking about buying yourself a house. We're not talking about buying yourself a car. We're saying, what would you do to bring greatness into the community? And if you articulate that in different spaces and places, somebody is going to raise up their hand and say, you know what? I don't have $1 million, but I'm a contractor. I don't have $1 million, but we have this piece of land that we don't intend to build on. Here, we'd be happy to donate to you. We're looking for a tax write-off anyway. You know what my company requires? That we donate 20,000, 10%, $1 million a year. And here you go. You step up because you spoke your mind. Somebody can see you. Somebody can hear you. Or they are connected to somebody like Mr. Mike Drop, and Mr. Mike Drop introduces them, which, by the way, that's the Hello LLC, Mr. David Jones. That's not his real name. I call him Mr. Mike Drop. He introduces you to somebody, and that's truly what, to me, is building community, and that's how we truly do have that ripple effect and change the world. We got to be the change we want to see. We've heard that before. We know that it's true, but we got to actually do it. In closing, my dear, what's the one thing you want people to gain from this conversation?
One of the things that I want people to gain from this conversation is never be afraid to invest in yourself and bet on yourself. The best advice that I ever received is don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And I want to take it back to actually Mr. Mike Drop, because there was a time when I had a choice to take care of some things or invest in my website. And I ultimately made the decision when I first came on here to do my first biz in the box, because I knew the power of allowing people to see me in a digital space that would bring everything together. And so you can't out invest in yourself. Whatever you put in yourself will eventually come back to you. And so never, ever, ever feel bad for investing in books, investing in experiences, investing in people that you care about, because those are things that you can't buy back. Like, once it's done, it's done, but that's something that you can take on with you forever.
Boom, boom, boom. And perfect segue to talk about somebody who's popping in, Mr. Chase in Forehand. What he's doing is investing in the community. If you don't know him, you've got to get to know him. He's building kitchens across the community and across our globe. I mean, I just adore the work that he's doing. I think that if all of us were putting just a little bit, not even exactly what he's doing, but if he did a small portion of something very similar, we would totally transform our communities. This has been an incredible conversation. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate our connection, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. I totally agree with you that, when I was going through my divorce, I had to figure out what I was going to do. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 19 years, barely graduated high school, no college degree, no work experience. I hadn't worked in 19 years. People told me, go back to school. And I think there's a place for that. Other people said, get a job. You can work your way up. Well, you know what? I took the time to invest in me, and it was the best decision I ever made. I'm so grateful. I love the career that I have. I love the community that I'm building. I love that you people show up here. I'm just so honored. I'm always shocked when people show up because I just never know. And I appreciate the Hello LLC. They absolutely, all the stuff you see, I don't know anything about this. All this techie, all this AI stuff, it is all they're doing. I just hand them some stuff, and I don't know. Him and Miss Tara, they create the magic, and they actually make me look really good, and I appreciate that so much. Check out my business box. Come and download my free Magic Maverick and the treasure map. You got to see it. Share it with others. It is free right now, but it may not be free forever. I don't really know. So thank you so much, my love. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back in the green room down there. And I think there's some books or titles that you can start writing some stories on. Boy, this has really, really been a lot of fun. I always enjoy it. Mr. Jason, let us know how we can support you. Put something in the chat. Put something in the chat about a link, your book, your next kitchen. People are looking for you. And by the way, there are people with deep pockets that are looking to write some donations. They absolutely are. This is a community for me. I serve entrepreneurs and business owners. This is a place on my Wealthy Wednesday where you're allowed to come and shout yourself out. You're allowed, I want you to network with each other in the comments. You're allowed here to go ahead and put your link, put your YouTube channel, share your next ebook. That's what it's about, because someone may pass by here and maybe they don't really gravitate towards me or need what I'm doing or like the topic, but they look in the comments and they see you and they say, oh, Mr. Chasen, I love this kitchens that you're building. You know what? I have a check for you. I have some land I'd like to donate. I would love to open up an opportunity for you, but they don't know it if you don't talk about it. Closed mouths don't get fed. We got to talk about it. We got to be about it. We got to be an evangelist for what we do. And absolutely, I love this comment by Mr. Mike Drop. It's LinkedIn user, but I know it's him. Scared money don't make money. You are so on point every single day and twice on Sunday. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. And listen, here's the thing. You are the one in your family. If you are here, it's because you're the one that's supposed to change your family's last name forever. Maybe that means you build a dynasty, but maybe that means you're the first one to be out of debt. Maybe it means you're the first one to buy a home. I don't know what that means for you, but truly, every generation should start and be better than we are, right? We shouldn't start over again. We've already had generational poverty. Now it's time to flip the script into generational prosperity. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you so much, Team Live. I adore you, Team Replay. Remember, we're here every single Wednesday, Wealthy Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're looking for a speaking opportunity, I would love to talk to you because someone is looking for you and what you do. Thank you so much, everybody.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Introducing Leah Garcia's Wall of Wealth, the ultimate one-page financial plan to protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth with confidence. Whether you're a business owner or just starting your financial journey, this step-by-step guide gives you the tools to create a solid foundation for long-term success. Don't wait to transform your money mind shift. Download your free copy today at leahgarcia.io and start building your wall of wealth now.